Welcome to Lifting Leaders Podcast, where we are unleashing leader possibilities to make a better world. I'm Crystal Roberts, and together with Trisha Ryan, we're diving deeper into some of the complexities of the world's most critical challenges and exploring innovative ways of navigating through them.
Through interviews with experts and leaders just like you, we're exploring what it takes to thrive as a leader today and examining new ways of thinking about how to creatively lead into a more equitable, socially responsible, and sustainable future. And the future starts now.
Hi, Trisha. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Chris. How about you?
I'm doing good. I'm so glad that summer is officially here.
I'm totally excited about that. And I think that we need to talk about summer today. I think we need to talk about, let's have some fun.
Yeah. It's time to have some fun, to shake off the rain.
Yes.
The moss, all of that stuff. And
all that junk that's blown onto my deck.
Yeah. All the tree shedding.
I need a bulldozer.
I was shedding. That's what I was saying. Shedding. Tree shedding. Yes. All the little tiny pine cones that go everywhere and clog all your, my fountain was literally overflowing with these things.
Oh my goodness.
Everything was plugged. But today it's beautiful. It's more than 80 degrees. So
it's gorgeous. Yeah. The sun is shining. There's not a cloud in the sky. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So we're going to make this one short because we want to go enjoy the sun.
Yes, we do.
The occasional day of sun. So we thought maybe this would be a fun topic. Talk about fun.
Absolutely. I think it's time. We've been talking about business and talking about the environment, and all that stuff is great, and I love it. And people are getting tired, right? And it's time for us to talk about something that maybe enables our neural pathways to take a little bit of a shift, and that's good for you.
Yeah. And of course, we wanted to find some research to prove that it's not just fluff.
Of course.
That having fun isn't just about having fun.
Hey, let's just find an article, shall we?
So we did. We found one in Forbes. It was published on October 30th, 2023. So it's actually a really recent article. And it's called Elevating Leadership Through the Science of Fun.
And we also pulled another article that came off the web, and it is from a woman who has her own website, but it's got perfect timing. Her name is Kara J. Lovett, and she has her own company. And the article is 70 Fun Summer Activities for Adults. And we're not going to run through all 70, but I think we might be able to pick one or two that will be helpful.
Yeah, to sort of inspire our own journeys around having fun.
Yeah.
But also hopefully inspiring you a little bit, our listeners too. So we're going to dive into the research first. And so that Forbes article, one of the things that they say, and I think, this one's to me pretty obvious, that it boosts creativity and innovation. And they share that scientific studies have shown that engaging in enjoyable activities can stimulate creativity and innovation. The National Institute of Mental Health suggests that moments of joy can activate areas of the brain. We love brain science.
Yes.
Associated with creative thinking. When we leaders incorporate fun activities into our routines, we often find us becoming more capable of coming up with innovative solutions to complex problems.
For years, I think that you and I have both done retreats and stuff. And it seems like every retreat, when we're talking to the leaders, it's like we need to have some fun element. And a lot of people think it is the icebreaker, which I rarely think that's fun. It's just something like get everybody on the same page, right? Yeah. But when they divest and do something that is just a little off the wall, it's always good for the team. All of a sudden, they start working together differently. They start interacting differently in the room, and by the time they end, they're not people who compete with one another anymore. They're people who work with each other. And to me, that's sort of a cool outcome of that. And we do end up having a much more creative day when we do something like that early in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I even think about the simple thing that when we were in person, we used to hand out crayons or put them on the tables and paper so that people could just sort of free color. And the research shows that actually the smell of crayons generates it generates areas of your brain around creativity. So similar to what this article is saying, because it connects you back to your childhood and the creativity and sort of freedom that comes there. So there was actually a real reason why we put those crayons, other than it's fun,
Right.
which is good and helps people kind of relax, but it actually literally stimulates creativity in the brain.
Well, and I know you and I have also done something else with another product that we've put on tables and let people play with it while they're in a meeting. And often that it's having that distraction a little bit, because people are, I don't know about you, but I am one of those people. I get distracted really easily. If I'm sitting at a table with a bunch of people and that's all I have is the table and the people, I'm going to go nuts. I'm going to start pinging off the walls. I want something to do, a little bit of a distraction, because I can channel my brain a little bit differently, and I can be more creative, and that's Play-Doh.
Oh, Play-Doh is another one. Yeah.
I love Play-Doh because you can play with it. It's got a smell to it that makes you just, you remember your childhood. It's great.
Yeah, it's another good one. So play boosts our creativity and innovation. So the next one is enhancing stress resilience. So when we can laugh and play, it definitely helps us. You can just feel it in your body, right? You can feel the stress just leave. And the Journal of Behavioral Medicine found that individuals who regularly engage in enjoyable leisurely activities are better equipped to cope with stress.
Yeah. That's so important. So fostering team morale and collaboration is like the next one. And they this started out with some research that was done by Gallup that showed that teams with higher morale are more productive and collaborative, and that leaders who create fun and inclusive work environments tend to have teams that are not only happier, but way more effective in achieving their goals. And I would say, the morale is higher at that point, much more engaged, right?
Yeah. And I think the interesting thing about that to me is that they can actually show that they have greater productivity.
Yes.
Yeah. And the final one, which actually kind of surprised me, was that it improves decision-making skills. That is not one I would have thought that fun would contribute to. But neuroscientists at Stanford University have discovered that humor and laughter can enhance decision-making processes. And it says when leaders incorporate humor and enjoyment into their interactions, they are more likely to make well-rounded decisions that consider various perspectives and potential outcomes. So isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it is, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would have thought of that either. But then I think about us, when we're doing our planning, for our listeners, if you don't know, we usually take a day or two in each year and we do some strategizing. What is our podcast going to look like this year? How do we want to focus on different topics, or what do we want to do different? What kind of guests are we looking for? Do we want to put some kind of study or something into our work? And we end up laughing more than not. We do a lot of fun stuff. We do a lot of creative, vision boarding and stuff like that. And it is fun. It's like a day of play. But we make great decisions, I think, and we come out with a plan that is something we've absolutely followed every year. We may not make every one of our goals, but we make at least 50% of them, which is a lot of businesses cannot say.
Yeah.
And I believe part of that is that we have that moment of just having pure joy and fun, and it makes it fun to do our work. It's amazing.
Yeah. So following along with that, they make the point that we really should be considering adding fun into our leadership strategy.
Yeah.
And we think about setting goals and doing things like that. How can we make it fun? And so it's important at work to have fun. I was thinking, not to take us down a sad path, but a more challenging path, but I do think we have to really think about how do we get creative when many of us are working in virtual environments. So having fun used to be, I think, easier at work when we were in common spaces, but now it's common for people to be working from home, whether they're working with those around the world, but really being intentional about that. How can we still hold time for fun and connection, even when we're not present with each other in live, in person? Yeah.
It's a great point. And, I'll go down memory lane a little bit. During COVID, we were all working from home pretty much, or a lot of us were. And you actually were the manager in our group at the time. And one of the things that we did a few times was we held virtual scavenger hunt kind of things. And so we would...
Yeah, we'd had fun with that. That was a good one.
It was fun. We would like go and we'd have a hint that we had to go look for something, and then we would come back, and we had to talk about it and why it was significant or why it fit the criteria for that particular question.
Yeah.
And it was fun because it was engaging. We all did it together, and we learned something about each other in the process. Mm-hmm. So at a time when we couldn't be more separate, we were actually as engaged as if we had been in the same room, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the key, there's so many creative things you can do, and you got to take the time to do it. And I think at least the meetings I'm in, I feel like mostly we're just like, get down to business, arrive right on time, get down to business, go right for the agenda, get it done. So it's a good reminder for me that it is important to make sure you've got some of that, actually planned into your agenda. Have a little fun. Yeah, love that.
And I think you can plan for it, but be open to divesting from it a little bit. Not getting away from fun, but from expanding it to something else. So you may have a plan for what fun's going to look like, but everybody else may have
for fun.
Yeah, somebody else may have a different idea of what that looks like, and so be open. It could be really fun to do something you didn't even expect.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
yep, for sure.
So we have this other article that came in, and it's called 70 Fun Summer Activities for Adults. Yes, there are a plethora of articles about a number of, could be hundreds, could be thousands, could be 10, for doing fun summer things with your kids or with kids. But this one is geared for adults. So they have all sorts of items. They kind of categorized some of them. So they did like things that had to do with food and things that had to do with water and farmers market kind of things. So let's just find a couple that kind of resonate with us, and then let's talk about our own stuff.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah. Right. I loved the one about summery foods. So we have a tradition, at least when the kids were home, we had a tradition that on the first sort of sunny, beautiful day of summer, that we had root beer floats. And it's kind of funny. I wondered if the kids would even remember, because it's been a while since we've done that. And we were together for an event, and they were talking about, remember, maybe this is a day we should have, because it was a sunny day, a root beer float. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad. So for me, root beer floats are a signal that, it's summertime.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't do it anymore, but years ago, my dad, my parents used to always have a summer backyard party, just at the beginning of summer, and my dad would crack out the ice cream maker.
Oh, yeah, that's fun.
And so we would make ice cream in the backyard, and he would cut up big watermelons, and we would just have like a day of free for all food stuff, right? Barbecue things and salads and you name it. It was like, but it was fun. It was just really fun. We had badminton and different games that we could play in the backyard, and I loved that. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So the list offered a couple of things that were things that I have on my bucket list, and I haven't done yet. One of them was zip lining. Going on a trip and going zip lining.
Yeah.
I have always wanted to do that. I see all these great, aerial shots of people who are zip lining across a rainforest or something, and I think that's going to be me someday. But not this summer.
Yeah. Oh, I love this one. Raid the library for summer releases. I think the library, I used it a lot with my kids, and I think people tend to think of it that way, especially the smaller ones that are in our neighborhoods, kind of.
Yeah.
But I do think they are a fun place to go visit. And what my kids loved about it, and I love this part about it too, is it's all free.
Yes.
So you can like load up your arms with books, and then you've got to remember to bring them back. But it's fun, right?
You
can
is
just
fun.
pick anything you want and learn about gardening or just look at the pretty pictures or who knows what it is. But it's fun.
And that in itself, going and looking at places you've never been before and stuff in books, to me, that is fun because it also keeps our curiosity alive.
Yeah.
Right? It really tests our curiosity, which we've already learned several times now is a really good thing for us to be creative, but also to work on our own mental well-being. And it's, it's good work. I also like going to the farmer's market. I just love going to the farmer's market, and just walking around. I don't have to buy much, but if I go there, usually I do buy much.
Yeah.
But it's fun to be around with a lot of other people who want to be there too.
Yeah.
It's a different vibe. It's like going to the fair, right?
Yeah.
We all want to be there. And it changes the way things feel when you're walking around. I love that.
Yeah. I also love meeting the people who are growing your food.
Yes.
That's so cool. We've made some really interesting contacts through people there at the farmer's market. So that's really fun to be able to actually sit there and chat with a person who's actually grown your lettuce and carrots and yeah.
I think that's a side trip that you and I are going to have to take again this summer to, go to the farmer's market, see if we can scope out some new people we haven't talked to before.
Yeah.
Bring them on our podcast. That would be fun.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Host a board game night. I think that's kind of, because there's all these really cool ones. We have a few of the big ones that go in your backyard, like giant size dice and like the Jenga game that is like, 3 feet tall. And those kind of things can be really fun in the backyard.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I love that idea. And I also like going swimming,
Me too.
I'm not a great swimmer, I wouldn't say. I used to swim a lot when I was a kid, but I haven't been a great swimmer. But you and I have gone swimming at the lake.
Yeah,
and
I love swimming.
That's always fun.
Yeah. Picking strawberries.
Yes.
There's, depending on where you live, but you can probably get out into more rural areas. And a lot of those places have places where you pick strawberries or berries or apples in the fall.
How about taking a road trip? It doesn't have to be a long one or overnight. You could just take a day-long trip and just go someplace you haven't been before. About 2 years ago, I needed to get away for a day, right? And it was summer and it was really pretty. And I thought, I'm just going to go and see if I can ever find Leavenworth because I've never been there before. And so I put it in my GPS and I started driving, and it got me way out in the middle of a lot of places I didn't know I was going. And so I had doubts I was going to ever get to Leavenworth. And then all of a sudden I was there, and so were a million other people. But what a charming little place. It was fun. I got out of the car. I walked around. I walked in all the shops. I went to see the Nutcrackers and, bought weird candy. And, it was a fun day. And it was warm, but not crazy warm. So it just felt like a nice day in the summertime.
Yeah.
And then after about 2 hours, I decided to go back home.
Yeah.
It was a great trip. And on my way home, there was like a little farm stand, and I got pickles and all sorts of stuff that I would not normally buy. And it was a good day. I came back and I went, I spent my day well.
Yeah.
Those can be fun.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then there's things like, ride a bike, go on a walk, fly a kite. I love all these things. You just have to pick one, right? Pick one and do that. Feel like a kid. Yeah, exactly. She had a little part of her list of things that don't require any money. Oh. And I thought, you know what? That's kind of cool. Board game night, stargazing and cloud watching. It's possible. Yeah. To your point, borrow books from the library. That was there. Have a movie marathon or old movies from your childhood. And that made me think about a movie that I saw, and it was like, I don't know, The Wedding Planner or something. And she was out at the park in San Francisco, and I used to go to that park and watch movies in that park when I lived there. Yeah. And it brought back all sorts of great memories. And I thought, why not put a screen up and show a movie in your backyard if you can? Yeah. Yeah. And cool. There's also that people do that in the community a lot. If you kind of check in with your local community, oftentimes they'll play a movie in the park. And there's also, I know in our local community, there's music. So sometimes there's like jazz nights or, somebody will play a guitar or whatever. But there's catching that kind of stuff, and it's all free.
And that, I love that idea because it also helps the economy in the town because, people start walking around and they start seeing the shops and stuff. And while you don't have to spend a dime, you could just go window shopping if you wanted or just walk around and see people. But for those people who decide they want to buy something, it's amazing what you find in your little town. I live in a little town, so I love the shops. There's just that little row on Main Street. It's amazing to me. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've
got...
my
favorite, actually, I have to say my favorite one, though, was clean out my closet. I disagree with that one. That's not a lot of fun for me.
Okay, so I'm telling our listeners what I told you before we started doing this afternoon, and that is that you asked me what I would do for fun, and I said, well, I could clean out my closets, or I could sweep off my deck or something. And it wasn't like I had no ideas of what I wanted to do, but that was kind of the first thing that came to mind. It's like, I can't have fun until I get some things done around here. So,
and sometimes we just have to go out.
I know.
Yeah. Here's a couple other free things that are one of my favorites. Watch a sunset or a sunrise. Mm-hmm. And this is actually, I'm getting so much joy out of watching. My daughter and her husband are in a new house, and they planted a garden, but right outside their sliding glass door right next to our kitchen, they have this big barrel that they filled up with dirt, and they planted herbs in it. Oh. And they're doing really great, and they're cooking with them like every night. And it's really cool to see them kind of discover something fun and new.
And that is fun. It's like, especially when you get to, eat your own produce and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I do think that's fun.
Yeah.
I love growing my own vegetables and stuff. It's kind of cool to watch them coming up and actually producing something. Yeah, I'm late this year. Usually I get them in at the beginning of May, and I haven't yet, but there are a lot of nurseries that have started plants already.
Yeah.
And you can still go and get plants that are, they've been started. Even some of them have buds and baby vegetables on them, and just put them in the ground.
Yeah.
And then watch them grow and enjoy that. Eat your produce and feel, proud of yourself because you tended to them.
Yeah. It's so fun to watch them come up. We have peas that are now like about 3 inches tall, but when they're first just breaking through the dirt, it's so cool. Yeah. So it'll be fun to watch those grow over the summer. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that list. I think that was a good list to inspire us to start thinking about having fun this summer. And then, so anything that you're committed to doing this summer? Mm-hmm.
I am committed to taking some hikes, and I'm planning to go to a couple places I've never been before.
Great.
And I am committed to going to the farmer's market. I am going to plan a fantasy trip I want to take. I want to go to Antarctica.
Wow.
And either Antarctica or Arctica. I haven't decided which one, but I want to do some research on that and figure out, what my options are. Yeah. And who knows? I mean, I happen to believe it's not a try thing. I am planning to do it someday, but I think this summer I'm going to spend some head time and heart time trying to figure out what I want that to look like.
Yeah.
I just, I haven't taken a real big trip in years. And not this year, but next year for sure, I want to do that.
It takes so much time to plan, doesn't it? I mean, I love that you're like intentionally doing that, so that I think sometimes we get these big ideas and then we think, let's just do it. But then if you haven't planned it, then it's not going to be the best trip. I think about Regina, and she has a whole company to plan, good trips for people. Yes. And maybe someday I'll go on a trip with her.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. This summer for me, we've started a tradition. Can you call it a tradition? We've only done it once.
Yes, it's a tradition.
So we're doing it this will be twice.
It's your first annual or your second annual.
It'll be our second annual. We're doing family camp because my kids are grown and are pretty much, And they've all got their own stuff going on and everything. So we're just coming together for a weekend back at home and doing fun things. And people are excited about it, and I'm glad. So that'll be fun. A
Yes.
weekend, everybody doing, roasting marshmallows and stuff like that. And then I'm doing something kind of wild and crazy, which I'm calling fun, with the International Coaching Foundation, the Washington State chapter. We're doing a summer road trip series, doing in-person coaches cafes. And so we'll be going around the state. We had our first one yesterday, and it was really fun. So I'm really looking forward to doing that over the summer.
I love that you're going to locations because we have so many members of ICF Washington all over the state.
Yeah.
And they can't all make it to, Seattle or something.
Right.
So that's great. That's wonderful.
Yeah. So that'll be fun. And then I talked about gardening. Usually my husband does most of that, just finding the time. But this year I made it an intentional to actually be part of that process. So that's kind of been fun.
Nice.
And the water, anything water for me, kayaking and boating and swimming. And I want to find some precious time to do that during the few days of summer. And then, both were talking about how giving back can be fun too. I'm doing some things now, but I think I want to do more. You were sharing where you had actually worked with or gone out and helped a group beautify their area.
Right.
And I think those things are really important. So I want to find something like that this summer.
Yeah, I do too. In fact, I like to do it. I want to do it year round, and I'm looking for opportunities to, I know it may sound weird in this area because we don't have a lot of people in this area in need, but to go and work in a soup kitchen or go work someplace where we're serving people, because I like doing that anyway, and I love people and I like to connect, and this is an opportunity to connect with people who may not have anybody connecting with them during the day. So to have just people treat them like they absolutely matter, which they do, I think to me that would be fun.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree. And then of course we'll be having lots of fun with our lomies.
Oh, yes, we will. Oh, yes, we will. We're firing them up by the day here. I've got spinach that needs to go in tonight.
Yeah, all that produce that we've got going on. There will be some of that will end up in at least the waste will end up in our lomies. So,
it's funny. I've been talking to people who are not in this country, and we've been talking about ways in which what we're doing to do our part to save the earth and stuff. And I've talked about the loamy because to me it's just kind of cool that you can turn something into dirt in 24 hours, right? And it's got nutrients. Yeah. And so I talk about it, and I've started a whole new crusade. People want to know, okay, so where do I get one of these and how does it work? And it's like, let me tell ya. So it's a great thing. We've had them for a couple of years and we're still liking them.
Yes, I do. Great. Yeah, they're really easy. All right. So we hope that this has inspired you to plan a little and have a little fun this summer. And if you needed the excuse, it's not just fluff. There's research behind it. It's really a good leadership practice. There's lots of benefits that you get.
That's right. Yeah. And we're hoping that maybe some of you might even go on our website and tell us what you're doing this summer. Tell us what fun things you're doing. Or if you've already started doing them, tell us what you're up to. I think it would be kind of fun to be able to share that.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to hear from you. So let's keep the conversation going. If you have questions or comments about the show, you can find us on all our social media channels at lifting_leaders. We have so many exceptional podcast episodes coming up, more with fantastic guests. So be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. If you know someone who would find this episode inspiring or fun, share it with them, text them, email them, or take a screenshot and share it on your Instagram and tag us at lifting_leaders. If you'd like to know more about us, our guests, or the show, please go to our website at liftingleaderspodcast.com. You'll find our show notes there as well. If you're looking for help in developing your leaders or would like a growth opportunity yourself through leader coaching, please contact us through our website at www.liftingleaderspodcast.com. Thank you to R. H. Chance Roberts for his technical support of our show. Finally, please take 30 seconds and follow us. It helps you because you never miss an episode, and it helps us because you never miss an episode. To follow us, go to the Lifting Leaders Podcast show on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google, or wherever you listen. Then just tap the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner or click on follow. While you're there, if you'd be willing to give us a 5-star rating and review and share the episode with a friend, we'd be so grateful. Thank you, Trisha, for another fun episode.
Thank you, Crystal. It was fun.
Many thanks to you, our listeners. We appreciate you. Find ways every day to lift each other up. Have a fantastic week.
Take care.